Like I say, shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there in social media land. This is indeed a great day to be alive. It's the day the Most High Heavenly Father made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. This message is going to be for our brothers and sisters within our communities, worldwide, in every city, in every state, in this country. When we look on Facebook, we still see many things that I call a distraction. Don't get me wrong, I ain't beyond being distracted myself, but every now and then we have to tap ourselves on the shoulder and say, wait a minute, son, this is not even important. Like a couple of posts that we see on this morning on Facebook. Now, mind you, this is not a religious channel. I'm not no religious dude. I read the Bible, and I'm connected with a lot of people that read the Bible, but one of the things that I keep trying to express to people is that, listen, don't get me confused. I'm not caught up in no type of religion, period. And so it don't make me no difference whether we call ourselves a Christian, an Israelite, an Islamic man. I personally don't care what people call themselves. The point I'm trying to drive home is that ain't gonna change your life. Nothing you call yourself ain't gonna change your life. It's not gonna pay your light bill. You know, it's not gonna get you no job. It's not gonna move you into no position to where you can come to understand what it's like to make your own money in this world. It's not gonna do any of that. Only thing it's gonna do is continue to promote meaningless conversations which have no impact on the life. Like, take this for instance. Why in the world would people who've been walking in the scripture for an amount of time still be fussing about an English name Jesus versus a Greek name Jesus versus a Hebrew name Yeshua? We know that point blank and period, no matter what men try to do, it's still speaking of the characteristical nature of a particular individual. Meaningless stuff that we find to fight about. You look at your brothers on Facebook, you look at your brothers on YouTube, because we don't even deal with real news anymore. We got so much stuff on YouTube, you know, and that's why it's been a whole influx of information released to keep people distracted from what's really happening. So if you ain't got your eyes wide open in the world that you living in, boy, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And there's so many systematic schemes that's still coming against black people that is unreal. So what my aim is on this morning is to show you some of them. And hopefully we can drive a point home to make you brothers and sisters that wear religious titles understand how important it is that you start operating by what it is that you believe. But now, if you spending your life delving into a part of the book that ain't having no bearing on the life that you live in, or you still dwelling with the parts of the book that's causing you to go back and try to live a life of people that done lived and died on the earth, you're not living your life according to the book that's dealing with future and prophecy and things that's transpiring right up under our nose that we don't see, you're going to be in trouble. Let's give you a ideal. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it 100% real. All them falsehoods get put to the side. And if you brother and sister on this channel and you want to make a comment, you make sure that your comments are pertaining to what we're talking about, and that you are dealing with things that's promoting solutions rather than meaningless arguments. Now, it's some things that ain't going to be denied in this world. I don't care who you are, where you come from. That's drugs and alcohol. That ain't going to be denied. That's not going to be denied. It don't make no difference whether you're a poor man, whether you're a rich man. Everybody has some type of exposure to drugs and alcohol. Now, there used to be a time. There used to be a time that many of our people, even though they were not the people responsible, but it was a time that many of our people used to make money selling drugs um, it helped to further the destruction of our community. Nevertheless, some of our people benefited from that. Now, I remember when I benefited from from selling drugs. I was able to dress good, was able to eat good, was able to ride good, was able to do things for my family and do things for people that was close to me. You know what I'm saying? Was able to show some goodness because I had something to give or to offer. But even during those younger stages of life, you so engrossed with self that you completely oblivious of the fact that that your well-being is coming at the demise of somebody else's life. Now, as we grow up a little bit older and start understanding those things, we make a better set of choices. But nevertheless, I'm stressing this point for a reason. Many of our brothers and sisters have been locked up because of selling drugs. When I started selling drugs, I started selling dollar joints. One joint for $1. Stand on the corner in the park, at the local party, wherever it was, somebody wanted a joint, hey, I had it. And so those were early stages of me learning how to make my own money. All right? And so there are many brothers that moved into selling weed, and some brothers got real big in it, pounds of weed, and brothers that moved into selling crack. And I had been a part of all of these different areas. But the thing that I want to show you is how the world keeps closing in farther and farther and farther on black people. Now, the same things that brothers was guilty of and being locked up in jail for have been made legal in the society that we live in now. So that's one area that brothers in the future will no longer be able to profit off of. They'll no longer be able to sell weed to other brothers and sisters because it's being made legal. So where you would have some brothers in the community that would profit from this, now you don't even have those brothers anymore that will profit. And everybody, mind you, everybody that sells drugs is not bad people. And some people do whatever it takes for them to survive. Now, I'm making no excuses for anybody or no justifications for it. But let's look at it for what it really is. And we're going to look at the hypocrisy in it. You see? Because a drug dealer is one, he's looked up to by a certain group of people who are without, who don't know how to make their own money. He's looked up to by those people in light of one day they would like to be able to have the means to make their own money and live the life like that. But then there's another group of people that he's completely looked down on and frowned upon. Some people, the drug dealers even envy because they feel like, well, he ain't making this money the right way. He ain't making this money the right way. I'm working hard every day. So it's that type of scenario. It don't make no difference how you feel. A life is a life. A life is a life. And some people make different choices to produce a different set of different standard of living. And some people so you got the right to make what you call a good choice, or you got the right to make the bad choice. Now there's consequences that come with dealing drugs. You put your life on the line. Not only can you go to prison, but as you increase in your stature, you got to deal with people that are hungry, that are without, and you got to worry about people robbing you and things of that nature. Whereas to a person that's just working an everyday job, he don't have to worry about those things. Yet he still can't produce the living for himself that will cause him to be able to have the freedom in this world to live the life that he desires to live, or even have the freedom to the world. You might have a desire in your heart to do ministry or to deal with people, but if you don't have the freedom to do that, you know what I'm saying, then that's just going to be more frustration for the life. So now that they have legalized weed, and they have made now legal something that they was locking our brothers and sisters up for. And you know what the sad thing is that our same brothers and sisters that were once buyers from our brothers and sisters, they will stop buying from brothers and sisters, and then they'll go into these dispensaries, and they'll now spend their money with the same people for the same thing that was getting their brothers and sisters locked up. What's the line of distinction that runs between that? I tell you what it is. It's the laws that the government put in place. It's that word of whether something is legal or if it's illegal. If it was not right when one brother was doing it, then surely it can't be right when another group of people doing it, no matter what they use when it comes to pen and ink, or ink and paper, shall we say. So that's out the question. Now, drugs, they realized a long time ago that drugs, when they was doing the studies in the military on LSD and acid and stuff like that, and they were giving that to those people, and during the 60s and all those hippies and everybody broke out and started having, you see those hallucinogenic drugs, they start causing people's mind to be expanded. Because something about being on the hallucinogenic that deals directly with your mind. It's like an explosion into different dimensions, different areas of thought. And so what that LSD did is it started causing people's mind to break out of the box and start causing them to think and have a different. So they had to shut that down because that was something that would have worked in people's favor, who were strategically trying to be deceived. So they had to shut that particular thing down. Now, back when we was coming up, you didn't have all of these pharmaceutical drugs. Now, what's the difference between a pharmaceutical drug and a drug dealer? Somebody that's selling some crack on the street. You see, what's the difference? Because we have habit, we can call our people crackheads and all these type of things. You know what I'm saying? I already know, so it don't bother me. Not only do I sell drugs, but I smoke enough crack. Boy, I smoke so much crack, you wouldn't even believe it. I think I probably smoked a 1/4 ounce of crack a day. You see? And it was easy to do it because it was more of a social thing, more of an entertainment type of thing. It was more that thing that you had broken out into another class of people, and now you're able to do things that the average person can't do, because the average person that was working a job every day couldn't afford to smoke Primos all day. But the person that was selling the drugs or the crack, what's the difference between him and the pharmaceutical company? Because while our local drug dealers and our local crack dealers, they don't really make no big money. Yeah, they can buy a nice car. They might even buy a nice house, but that's not sustainable living. So any day, you know, if they don't find a way to keep up money and then put that money to good use to work for them some type of way, they're going to be in trouble too, because you can't sustain a life selling crack, selling dope that's being labeled as illegal. Especially when it comes to destruction of your own people. Then you got God involved now. Nevertheless, it happens on a day-to-day basis, and there are many things that we don't think about. So these things continue to perpetuate themselves, and the penitentiaries continue to stay full. We got to ask ourselves some questions and a lot of things that we got to rethink. But I'm showing you the hypocrisy, the level of hypocrisy that's in this world, and how everything that even the loopholes that cause certain black people to be able to slide through, they are now even being removed as well. Because now, police ain't even looking for nobody selling crack anymore. Probably because it really ain't no such thing as crack anymore. Now, what they got out here calling crack now ain't the same thing that was crack back when I was coming up. It's something completely different. So the police ain't even concerned with kicking in houses and you know, and handing out big time for crack. This pharmaceutical industry have took over. I think that the TV shows on TV only exist as a means to distract you from what they're saying in the pharmaceutical commercials that come on. They might play 30 of them in one TV show setting, back to back, back to back, back to back. The point is that those pharmaceutical companies, they gross $40 billion. When did you ever know any drug dealer in the hood to gross that type of money? You didn't. But what you see is you see doors being closed because drugs are being produced now that far surpass the pleasure that you can get out of smoking crack. So many people that used to smoke crack maybe turn to something a little bit stronger, and they ain't ever going back. So there's been a shift in where the money is going. There's been a shift. And here's the thing about it. You better pay attention to where the shift is coming from. So I got a clip that I'm going to play for you just so we can get on the same page and show you what's really happening. Because we have a program type of mindset. And we desire things in this world. We desire to have things in this world that other people have. And then the means or the thought process on how to get them, we've been loopholed and we've been tricked again. See, working a regular job ain't ever going to produce the life for you that you desire to have. It just ain't going to happen unless you have a master's degree or a PhD or some type of degree that have put you in a place to where you can earn a good living. But even that right there is futile. Because things are moving at such a rapid pace that 9 out of 10 of the people that go to college, by the time they get out of college, what they went to college for is obsolete. And so you have many graduates and many people out here that have degrees that can't even use them. They'll still have to take a regular guy job. So I want to play this clip for you, and I want to show you something. And I don't think that brothers and sisters are really paying attention to some of these things that's happening. But our job over here is we deal with real life, and we want to make people see things that's happening in their everyday life according to the scripture.
Well, thanks for being here. We've been trying to get a plan, or maybe the plan is no plan, that's been the plan so far, out of the White House for what happens after Title 42. What's Texas's plan when the floodgates open for illegals?
So this was the last vestige of any type of federal law that would protect us from illegal immigration. The Biden administration over the last 2 years, whether it's stopping the building of the wall, whether it's continuing catch and release, whether it's the Remain in Mexico program, whether it's Title 42, they have announced literally on day one that they were going to stop deportations. They have dismantled federal law by themselves, not with the approval of Congress. And so it's very important that we just got this victory and Remain in Mexico. This is our best hope of protecting the people of Texas and the people of this country from illegal immigration and the consequences that Bill Maloogian just talked about.
Mr. Attorney General, I have to ask, the Biden administration is acting like they have a plan. There's something they're going to unveil. You would think they'd be coordinating with, for example, perhaps a border state like Texas. Do you have any indication of their plan if Title 42 expires?
You know, that's been the frustrating part about dealing with them. There are massive consequences to our state, whether you talk about the drugs that Bill Maloogian was referring to or just the massive influx of illegals and the consequences of that. We've never been given information about a plan, and I don't suspect we're going to get one this time. And I'm very suspicious of any so-called plan that they have not shared with the border states.
So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to put you on point with this issue of this thing that Donald Trump put in place, the Title 42. And Title 42, what it did is it stopped everybody from coming into the United States. It stopped people from crossing the border. If you got caught crossing the border, you was deported. And then they was even starting to find people in this country and then deport them. And while they was doing it, the whole world went crazy. They lost their mind. But you know what the thing is that it's a strategic plan that had been put together. Now, many of you know that probably about 10 years ago, and we have done this on a few other occasions, the video is no longer able to be found. But there was a video of a guy who goes by the name of Rabbi Abraham Finkelstein, and he had did an interview with a Christian pastor, and then on that interview there were many things that were spoken, and this is over 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure there were many things that spoken that are transpiring right now. One of the things that was spoken is that they would turn this country brown. He said, "Oh, we ain't worried about the United States. We're destroying that right now. Most of the people that got money are billionaires. They know this economies that we crashing the economy, and so most of them have pulled their money out of these places." He said, "And we're gonna get all the white boys to carrying purses and carrying pocketbooks." And we'll marry off they women, and then we'll have children by them, and then we'll get our attorneys, we'll get our Jewish attorneys, our lawyers to divorce them. They won't even get to keep the children. He said, and we're going to turn this country brown. And what he meant when he said he was going to turn the country brown was talking about the immigrants, and those people from Mexico, those people from Venezuela, and all of those places. So these things are happening right now. Well, what did he have to say about black people? Because surely the question was asked about black people. The question was asked about white people. He also said, well, you know, our public school system did a great job. See, we know in this particular hour, since this white boy has been bought and paid for, he had been bought and paid for by the Jewish people that in political arenas that have the money, and he have put laws in place. He have put all of those laws in place that you know as anti-Semitism laws, where you can't say anything against or about Jewish people. Well, we're not saying anything against or about Jewish people from a derogatory standpoint. We're using the words of a Jewish rabbi as he conducted this interview with a Christian pastor. And so he said, yeah, we done a wonderful job with the public educational system. So you can see who's behind the public educational system, and you can see the damage that have taken place amongst the public educational system. Is part of the scheme to get all of the white people and everybody else wearing purse and twisting up the gender identity, stirring up the gender identity thing. That's why in this particular hour, you see people, you see parents, you see heterosexual parents going to these schools and then raising a fuss because they're not concerned, and they don't want their children learning anything about sexuality, let alone about homosexuality. Yet these people, only thing they're concerned with is teaching what they want to teach, where their sexual identity is concerned, and many of these things are getting passed. So you got two things that's exploding right now. You got an explosion of homosexuality, and then you got an explosion of immigrants coming in this land. And then you got an explosion of drugs from the pharmaceutical industry. Now, I used to work in the school district. I worked in the Kansas City, Missouri school district, and I was up close and personal with the front offices. And I did not know that the vast majority of the children that are in the public school system have been diagnosed with some form of illness. And almost all of those children were on medication. And I noticed that the children that were on medication were the most disruptive and the most unruly and the most challenging. You see, and these things happening right here in our community amongst our people. Now you got an influx of the people who are making the drugs in other countries now being able to come right in here. So now guess what? The brother that used to be recognized as some type of drug dealing figure, he ain't going to be recognized as nothing. He ain't going to recognize as nothing because he ain't going to have the ability to make the money that he once made once all these other people. And you see right now in every city, in every country, you're seeing an influx of other people that don't look like you. When they put these people on these buses from going to Texas and going to New York and going to Chicago and all these different cities, they're not going into the suburbs. They're not going into the white people's neighborhood. They're going right into the neighborhood that you've been accustomed to living in. And what you think that's going to happen to you? Because when they put the camera or the microphone in those people's face, the only thing they say is they just want an opportunity to have a better life. They want to come to the United States to work. And work they will do. Well, if they coming and all these people coming to work, Well, where do you think that's going to leave you? When black people already have a high unemployment rate, what do you think that's going to leave you? When somebody who's accustomed to working for $10 a day now can make $10 an hour, and they're going to work twice as hard as the average person, what do you think that's going to leave you? There are many of them that won't go to work. Many of them are going to go to work, and many of them are going to do what they've been doing, learning trades. Learning trades. And when you look now, and you look at these communities, and you look at the landscaping field, you look at the roofing field, you look at the carpentry field, these brothers have taken over. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not to say that they have taken over as though they have done something that is beyond anybody else to do. We were the former builders. When our ancestors were in the cotton fields, we were the ones that were building houses and building the skyscrapers. We was the ones that was doing the roofing. We was the ones that was doing the carpentry work. We were the ones that were doing everything. And that's why laws had to be put in place so that you had to have a college degree in order to get these things. They went back and then made our ancestors teach these white boys what they had become so dependent on us to do. And we were forced to teach them, and we got locked out because we didn't have college educations and degrees. Many of our ancestors couldn't read and couldn't write. And so they were locked out of a situation. And now it's about to be the same thing, and it's about to get real rough for the Negro if he don't wake up and get himself together. If you don't wake up and start taking what you're making on one of these rinky-dink jobs, go in your closet and ask the Most High to show you where your gifted area is and teach you how to make your own money, we're going to be in trouble as a people. Because right now, it used to be, when I was in high school, when I was in junior high school, my sister got her first job, and she worked at St. Mary's Hospital. And when St. Mary's Hospital, everybody on the floor was black people. From the dietary to the janitors to the custodians to the people in the kitchen, everybody was of Negroid descent being employed and making some type of money. I dare you to go in any hospital anywhere and see just how many of our people are working in the hospital now. Our people have been replaced by another brown people who look like us, but they don't live where we live, and they don't conduct themselves and they conduct ourselves as we conduct ourselves. When we as black people go to the store, we don't see our own people no more. We used to have mom and pop shops. We used to have stores that the whole neighborhood can frequent, but now we don't have that. We don't have that anymore. We don't have no businesses that belong to us. And while we are so-called rich with knowledge of all of these different aspects and areas of life, and we got information on what this should be, what that should be, yet we are lagging way behind when it comes to us being able to make our own money, and doors are steadily closing. Because when I open up my eyes, I see more and more. And I'm not against my Mexican brothers. I'm not against them at all. I'm not against them at all. Because anybody that can come from another country into another country and then take off running and work hard and then start building things to protect their own family, that is meant to be applauded. And the demise ain't just about black people. Because when this rabbi was speaking this, he was speaking mainly about the destruction of the authority of the white person. But we didn't even come into the conversation. You know why? Because when they asked about the black people, they said, oh, well, you know, we give them the music, which really ain't music. And so there was Ye dealing with how they allowed the music to funnel itself out into our communities as a destructive force. And they know that it's not music. And they said, and then we give them the drugs too. We give them the drugs. Drugs and alcohol is the next thing that's meant to choke all of the life out of us. That every little money we do get, we go spend it on drugs and alcohol. Now, I'm not judging nobody because I've been the same thing, lived the same life. I don't spend as much money now on drugs and alcohol that I once did. But there was a time that I spent a major portion of my money on drugs and alcohol. He said, well, that's what we give them. We don't have to worry about them because they'll just stay in a slumber. And when we start looking at the scripture, that's not what the scripture intends for us as a people. But if we don't wake up and start finding ourselves abiding, or at least attempting to overcome in some of these areas and attempting to abide in the scriptures that we say that we believe in, we're going to look up and, man, it's going to be worse than we ever seen it in our lives. I was just riding with one of my big brothers on the other day. And he said, well, you know, after we get through going out here to eat or something, I want to stop down here at this Mexican store so I can get me some oxtail. So I ain't never been there. I said, oh, okay, all right. So I took him down there. And sure enough, he went in there, came out with a bag of oxtails. You know what I'm saying? And let me know they got a grocery store. They got a grocery store in this whole complex. When I was had my last beauty shop, was out in this area, and about a half a mile down the road was a strip mall area. A strip mall area where you had your Family Dollar, you had your IGA grocery store, you had your beauty supply house, you had a couple of barbershops, a couple of beauty shops, you had a bank down there. All of this stuff down there now is owned by our Mexican brothers. And there were ran down neighborhoods over on the east side of our community where we live in, where many of the Mexican brothers and sisters went over there and settled down. But you know what? We've seen whole communities being built back up, buildings being painted, roofs being done, work being done, and place being made to be beautiful. And now you got the Mexican restaurant here, you got the Mexican grocery store here, you got all of these different things that brothers is putting there, and we still don't have nothing. We don't have a mind to build anything. The only thing we want to do is go to work and do our little work and make our little money and then talk about the Bible, many things in the Bible that we ain't gonna do. I'm a Muslim, but I don't see not one brother, not one or two brothers in the community that got no Muslim businesses. Now, it's a couple of them. But it ain't as many that's running around claiming this religion as though it's the grand sum total of the living. Out of all the Christians that I know, they're not concerned with producing a single business in the neighborhood. They're not concerned about anything. Yet they'll come to church and they'll make sure that they don't fail to mention tithes and offerings so that they can extract money out of people's pocket that other people have worked hard for, which they haven't. So in that aspect, the church, the black church, have become a business within itself, but it only benefits one individual. That's the individual that's at the helm of it. Now, you Hebrew Israelite all you want. You Hebrew Israelite all you want. And you can be in a community organization, whatever. But you know what? A community is composed of, where's your hospital at? If you're doing community living, you should have a hospital. You're doing community living, you should have a grocery store. You should have doctor's office. You're doing community living, you should have lawyer's office. You should have all the things that the scripture said that our people have when we built communities in the Hamitic lands. If we can do it there, we can do it here. It have been done here in the United States. People talk about Black Wall Street as though it was something that's impossible to do now in a time where people are making more money than they ever did in their life. Well, you know, black people can't get together. Black people, well, you know, that's another excuse, because it ain't about black people getting together. It's when every one of us line ourselves up with God's will and start doing what it is that he called us to do, then all of us begin to prosper, and then we start to make alliances with each other for the overall benefit of our community. Oh, this conversation right here, this is foreign. Oh, this is foreign. It's easier to talk about Enoch now because there ain't nothing you can do about that. So now, for about the last week, I think they said that they got more immigrants that have been coming across the border than ever seen in the history of the United States of America. Am I mad about it? Nope, I ain't mad about it because I already knew what was going to happen. the so-called rabbis said that this was going to happen because this was their aim, and that's what they were aiming to do. Strategically turn this country brown and make the white man who had been subjected to them, who was in power, to make him a stoolie. And that's according to Scripture. Revelation 13:10, he that leads into slavery himself shall go into slavery. So the same white people that brought our ancestors into slavery, they are going into slavery even now as we speak through the monetary institution. And there are many things that's transpiring in our world that we should be at least prepared for so that we can sustain ourselves through whatever's going to happen. Because there is going to be more losses of jobs. What do you think going to happen to health care? Many of our people already don't have no health care. You already can't see how hard it is getting in the doctor's office. Well, imagine that, because guess what? When the scriptures start talking about curses, and it said, the stranger that is among thee shall get thee high above thee, and you shall be brought very low. It means that as these people come into this country, it means that you're going to take another back seat, and your situation is going to worsen if you're not paying attention. And the only way for our situation to start changing is when our situation starts changing as a whole. And the reason, one of the main reasons why our situation can't change as a whole is because we're split and divided on so many different levels. And I'm a part of this camp, and I'm a part of that church, and I belong to this community organization, and I belong to this Islamic, and I'm a Jehovah's Witness. And guess what? Everybody is following after a man, and nobody's seeking after God's face. But I assure you, when every individual Negro, aka Israelite, get their minds back on the Most High, allow the spirit of Hamashiach to jump out in front of us and start giving us visions and ideals on how we may better our living situations, then we will all begin to prosper one at a time. And make alliances with our brothers that's doing this. I don't have no reason to distrust a brother who got the spirit out in front of him. Let's keep it real. I don't have no reason to distrust a brother who have the spirit operating out in front of him. If you got the spirit operating in front of you, then guess what? God gonna produce in your life what he promised that he was gonna produce. And if I got the spirit operate out in front of me, God gonna produce what he promised me. And when the two of us get together, there's a passage of scripture that says if one man following God's will can put 1,000 devils to flight, then two of them, when they hook up, they can put 10,000 devils to flight and let that thing start multiplying. That's what the world's afraid of. They're not afraid of you calling yourself a Hebrew Israelite, being a part of all these camps who can't find no agreement with each other to build anything. Out of all of our camp brothers out here, at all these camps, with all these men collectively that came together, you ain't found a way for them to build and produce not one thing in the community that they in. Coming out on the streets and hollering at people and telling people who they are, that's not going to change nobody's life. Out of all of these churches out here, you ain't seen none of these black churches that can collectively come together with their membership and their monies and build and produce anything for the community. But your Mexican brothers, they don't come over here telling you that they're Hebrew Israelites. They don't even come telling you they Christians. They don't tell you what they believe, but you do see that building that was just ran down transformed into something that's beautiful. They don't tell you nothing. But you will see a new restaurant popped up where you can go in there and get you some tacos and a conquistador sandwich or something like. You do see that part. They don't tell you what they believe, but you do see trucks walking, riding around the neighborhood with $50, $60, $100,000 worth of equipment on the back. You do see them on the side of the road cutting grass and getting leaves and roofing. You do see that. See, at some point, we're going to have to stop all this talking. Talk is cheap. Anybody that's on Facebook, that you had the time to sit around on Facebook and talk about the letter J, his name was Jesus, his name was Yeshua, his name was, anybody that's right there, you need to get the hell away from them people. Because they themselves are not doing anything productive in their life. Period. Facebook is a fairy tale. It's a dream world. It's science fiction. Yes, the Most High have made it to where his word can reach the four corners of the earth for those that have listening ears. But many people don't have listening ears. Many people only want to talk. No, folks, you say that's why God give you two ears and one mouth, so that you can hear what's being said. This country is indeed turning brown. It's turning brown because of interracial marriages, and it's turning brown because of immigration. But at the end of the day, the stranger that is among thee, he's about to get high up over thee. And we can see this happening right in our life. And we still want to wear a Gucci belt. Got to have some Air Jordan tennis shoes. Got to have some name brand clothing. We still got to have these things. You see your Mexican brothers out there, when the last time you ever seen one of them dressed up in a suit? When you see them, they got their jeans on, they got their Carhartt jacket on, they got their Brogan boots on, and they are putting that money to work. Buying apartment buildings and houses, making money to send for the other people. Look at all the things that other people are doing that we ain't doing. The only thing we can do is sit back and talk. Talk is cheap. Now, I ain't portraying myself as though I'm somebody that have arrived at the place that I'm talking about. But the place that I'm talking about is in my vision. It's seeable. And I know that it's doable because the scripture declares it. That God was going to judge the people that made slaves out of our ancestors, and he was going to transfer the substance into our hand. If we don't believe that, understand that God ain't just going to transfer substance into your hand. He ain't just going to come out the sky. He said a man's gift is going to make room for him. But if we don't start focusing on the gifted area that God had given us, and we continue to be distracted by areas of life that people have placed us in, knowing that we can never be the productive people that we desire to be in those areas. Gifted areas will move you into self-preservation and entrepreneurship, where you're going to have a trade in the days coming. And then you have to factor in these things. You got what you call the BRIC nations that are collectively coming together to destroy the petrodollar so that no nation have to use the dollar to buy oil from the United States anymore. If that happens, then this country is finished. The dollar is destroyed. So you got Russia, you got China, who started. You got India, who have joined, another big nation. You have got African nations who have joined the BRIC nations. You have got Iran who have joined the BRIC nations. You have gotten Saudi Arabia, one of the United States' so-called greatest allies. These are the people responsible for making the deal to use the dollar to buy oil. You got all of the people that was once connected to now changing sides. And now the BRIC nations represent about 40% of the world's population and the nations on the earth. And if they choose, if they get together and produce their own currency, it's going to kill the dollar. They said that their currency will be backed by gold. Our currency ain't backed by nothing but hot air. Now, I'm just looking at things from the standpoint of biblical prophecy and the world that we are living in. Because these things don't just happen. They strategically happen little bit at a time, and they produce and fulfill the prophecy that's spoken. That's God's judgment upon this nation. But what happens to the substance in God's people? We better get substance in our hand before these things transpire. Because let me tell you something. Before the United States allow anybody to destroy the petrodollar, there will be war. And because Russia is heading that petrodollar thing up along with China, one of them got to go. So what you looking at now is they threaten that dollar. It's going to be war. We ain't never seen war in the United States of America. We ain't ever seen it. These are some things that we could be thinking about, though. And as I said before, you know, the days of us making money off drugs, that's over with. Many of us was able to make money off drugs and take that money and then start doing other things to make their life better. We received that conviction and was able to stop, and you know what I mean? Somebody ain't going to get that opportunity no more. Just like many other opportunities. When I went to beauty school, I dropped out of high school. I went to beauty school. I was 17 years old. And when you can go to beauty school, all you got to do is be able to read with an 8th grade education. You can go in there and get your credentials and everything. And I slipped through the cracks. Because there was too many of us slipping through the cracks, going into entrepreneurship and making our own money, that they said, oh no, we got to make it to where you got to have a high school diploma. Now you used to have to have a high school diploma. You can go in there and take any trade, be an apprentice or anything. You have to have a high school diploma for almost everything. And look, our children ain't even graduating from high school. And don't understand, when you don't graduate from high school, young brothers, you automatically confine yourself to a life of crime and poverty and laziness. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, and so shall your poverty come as a man that travels. And you'll begin to want things in the same manner of an armed bandit. That's what wisdom says when it comes down to not being able to produce a good life for yourself. You go into places of want. And your brothers ain't going to go out there and deal with the white people like that. They're going to go and try to climb through your window or hurt you or take your stuff. All the while, you got these churches out here. All the while, you got all of these religions out here. And the thing that you learn from religion don't have anything to do with the real life that you are living. And that's why we have these conversations. And we don't want people to be confused with being religious. Oh, you know, he's a religion. Oh, he's a Hebrew Israelite. Oh, you know, he's a Christian. No, you can miss me with all that. I'm a human being. I'm a child of the Most High, living in a world that is wicked and has been against me from the time that I came out of the womb. And I'm like anybody else trying to navigate my way through this life, but I'm using the scripture as an aid because I had no mother and no father that was walking out in front of me. And there wasn't nobody walking out in front of me that could teach me anything that was genuinely about me and my life as it related to what I desire. So I reach for the Bible for wisdom, to find the instruction of a mother, instruction of the father. You're a father and you're a mother, and we look at the condition of our families. We're in terrible shape. The condition of the black family is down to about 15%. When I first dealt with the statistic of the black family, it was at 28%, and that was probably about 25 years ago. 28%. Now it's down to about 15% because we got our men turning fags and we got our women turning into sister fags. And they're falling for a system that is completely against God, that tell them because the thing is legal, it's all right for them to do. Destroying the family. And anytime you can find a governmental institution that will go over there and pay homage and make it important to bring back a faggot woman who is the destructive force on God's program to get established when it comes to procreation and continuously putting people in the earth, is something terribly wrong with that government. And we're indeed in the days of prophecy. where we would dwell in the land of Egypt, in spiritual Egypt and spiritual Sodom. Because Egypt was the place of us being made slaves out of, and Sodom is the place of homosexuality. It's crazy. What's up, King?
What's up, Pop?
I ain't calling no shots. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm hanging in there. I seen I missed your call. Let me call Pop back.
Yeah, that's what's up. I ain't doing nothing. I'm just hot. I'm live on Facebook, just having a conversation about the condition that we're in as a people. So, if you don't mind, you can hang around if you like. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll ask you a question here or there.
I will and see what you're talking about. I was just trying to help these poor people out.
Yeah, well, we got King Moshe on the line. King Moshe just coming on the line. But King Moshe, we're just dealing with some real life issues. Looking at the influx of trying to show our brothers that when all these immigrants come in here, it's going to be at our demise. They're not going to take white people's positions, but whatever it is, whatever condition we in, it's going to get worsened. Do you believe that?
I believe it's definitely going to get worse before it get better.
Yeah, see, my thing is that if our brothers and sisters really in the scripture, then they understand that Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 46, say that these curses shall be upon thee as a sign and as a wonder until thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not to obey the voice of the Most High Heavenly Father. And so what that means is that these curses are going to be upon us and upon our children forever until they be destroyed, because our people will not listen. We will not listen. We will not listen. Just because you're a part of a religious institution does not connect you with the Most High. It does not identify you, because God don't dwell in tents or tabernacles or buildings made by men's hand, until we understand that we are to move according to the spirit that Hamashiach granted us in this world, that no man can tell us what the spirit can tell us. We're going to continue to see these curses perpetuated. And even in this hour, we see the curse and the stranger that is among thee shall get thee up over thee high, very high, and thou shalt be brought very low. You see, it was a time when we was a child, we didn't even see too many Mexican brothers and sisters. But look in the life that you live in now. Not only do you see them, but you see them getting thee high, very high up over you. You see them.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to take for us to get it. And you know what? You're living in that dream world of Facebook ain't going to affect the atmosphere that's outside your door.
Definitely ain't. We definitely got to take heed and see what, you know what I'm saying, follow the blueprint that he gave us, because we dealing with these things now, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, you don't dwell in the temple. When you read Acts chapter 7, verse 47, they tell you the world is his footstool. So at the end of the day, you know, we can't box the Father in, but we got to definitely work forward to breaking these curses till he lift them all the way off of us. So we definitely must do that.
Well, you know what, King Moshe? Let me ask you a question. What do you think it take to break them curses off?
Staying consistent in the Father. You know, that's the only way, man. Like, anytime we outside of him, you will see we'll face heavy with our curses and things that are strongholds and yokes upon us. But when we in him and we meditating in him day and night, it helps break a lot of them curses. You ain't gonna be perfect, but you will be in a good covenant to where you are making less and less of them same mistakes. So it's really about building that strong connection and bond with the Most High. And you know, the Spirit's going to lead you in what not to do no more. And you'll be more convicted of the situations you make when you make wrong moves. So I think that'd be a good way to start right there, to getting closer to him.
So basically what you say, all in a nutshell, you just dealing with personal accountability and responsibility.
Right. Like, definitely got to take accountability for your actions. Definitely got to be responsible in what you're doing. Because if you don't take on them two things, you're going to blame everybody else. You're going to keep doing the same mess. You're going to keep on hollering out the world, you know what I'm saying, against you. You're going to keep on just doing the same repetitive thing because you ain't took no accountability and you're not being responsible for your actions. So that's a big thing in a nutshell right there.
Mm-hmm.
And must take accountability, must know how you acting. You can't make somebody else do nothing, but you sure can direct what you do, your mindset, how you react. Even if somebody do something to you, you still have an option on how to react.
You know what? This is so elementary that it's senseless. You see, because we should be past the point. And then just the whole thing that I want brothers and sisters, and listen, when you get to the place to where you get men out of your ear, where you stop listening to people, and you can start sitting down quiet in your quiet time, I mean really commune with the Father about your life.
Right.
You ain't got time to be worried about what nobody else doing. Oh, somebody else, they Christmas. See, this is what's going on with our people. We all worry about what somebody else is doing. And the greatest thing that the Most High given us as a gift in this world, we neglect. You know what it is? Let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you what it is. Because when I say the greatest thing that the Most High give us as a gift in this world for our benefit, if I ask people, what do they think it was? I don't know who would get it right. But I'm going to save you from that. It's so simple. The greatest gift the Most High give us in this world while we live in our life is a mirror. He give us a mirror. Because that mirror is only dealing with you. And that's the only thing that's going to matter. When it comes down to the Most High's will for your life, the only thing going to matter is what you do. It ain't going to matter what everybody else do. You see?
Yeah, because you're gonna have to deal with how you act. Because I told a brother this morning, he was like, man, I'm so sick of tired of everybody saying Merry Christmas. I'm like, what's wrong? Just tell them bless them, bro. There was a point in time where we had no understanding. So, bro, like, we just got to be careful on how we approach things and how we be aware. If you're set apart, you got to actually not just talk about you being set apart, but you got to actually walk it out. You know what I mean? That means, so when you're dealing with other people, don't get to snapping on them because they say Merry Christmas. You have done enough self-evaluation in yourself with the Most High that you understand that their mindset is not there. So now you got to walk in a higher understanding than they, and then just continue holding yourself accountable of what you do.
You know what, man?
On that great day, real quick, on that great day, you ain't going to be able to say, this person said this to me that made me do that. This person did this to me that made me do that. Ain't none of that going to be able to be standing.
Yeah, and so see, the thing is that, like I said, when we start dealing with religion, we start dealing with science fiction. You see? Right. Because the Christian man, shouts out to you, Kenneth Moore. This ain't just, we just having a conversation. Shouts out to you, Elder Emmanuel. Now, the Christian man, he spends all of his time dealing with the future, the return of Christ. Christ coming back to crack the sky. The new kingdom. You see? The Israelite man, he's dealing with the ancient of his forefathers. The thing his forefathers did. The laws, the statutes, the judgments, the commandments. Even though he can't keep none of them, he don't even know them, and he ain't even exposed to them. Nevertheless, this is what the point I'm making is that one is dealing with the past, one is dealing with the future. But when we start dealing with the spirit is dealing with the here and the now. Give you an understanding of the past so that you don't make the same mistakes, so that you can be more prepared to receive the things that are promised to come in the future. But you got to be able to deal with yourself.
Right.
And you don't take no Bible. It don't take no book. It don't take no organization. It don't take no man, no so-called leader to make a brother be able to discern good choices versus bad choices in the life that he making. It don't take none of these religious institutions to show you the things that's happening in the world. It don't take that. When we start focusing on this life that we are living right now and start seeing things for what they really are, then we can see that God said it was going to be like this.
And you know what's so crazy, Elder, is that when I started reading the Bible, it helped enlighten me more. But before I read this book, though, and he started showing me, when I was in the streets doing what I was doing, I already knew right from wrong. It's in you. You know right from wrong from junk. It's in you already. It's just about what you do with what you know. Whether it's a lot of knowledge or a little bit of knowledge. But it's already in us. So when you go to steal something from your friend, and you know that let's say something stupid like you went to school and you stole his pencil and he's looking for his favorite pencil. You know you stole it, but inside you knew it's wrong. You ain't gotta know. You ain't gotta be no heavy Hebrew, no strong Christian, and this kind of. You just know damn well it's wrong that you took that from him. So before I even came into understanding this book, I still understood right from wrong. And that's when I know our people be neglecting and understanding that you already know right from wrong with or without. And now that you're older, you understand that the Spirit of the Most High is going to show you even more of yourself and if you're doing right or wrong. But we neglect that. We neglect that understanding.
Yeah, see, it's more easy. It's more easy to deal with what somebody else is doing. You see, and I don't know. Whenever we get to the point to where we understand, so it's like I give you this examples on the Blog Talk show Fearless. We had him bring Nathaniel, Bishop of IUIC, on there, and he wanted to learn, about the Hebrew Israelites mindset. And then 2 days later, we seen Pastor Dial and his crew on there. You know what I'm saying? But his crew was on there to make a statement that they didn't believe the same thing that they believe. Well, in my mindset, I'm like, well, what's the purpose of that? Because when people believe what they believe, that's no reason for you to meddle with them. If somebody want to know what you believe, they ought to come to you and ask you rather than somebody interjecting ourselves. And I'm not talking about these brothers, period. I'm just using it as an example. Is that, you know what? Everybody has the capacity to make the choices that they want to make with their life. But the reality is that we have to hold ourselves accountable for choices that are made when the Spirit down on the inside shows us that we are incorrect or out of order. The Messiah himself that we say we serve tells us one thing: we shouldn't judge each other. Because we're all guilty of something. And the other thing he tells us is that we should mind our own business and we should be concerned about what other people are doing. You see, he said we should worry about ourselves. He said, you first get yourself right. And then your brother will be able to see clearly through your example, But my thing is, I'm just saying like this, is that when we look like now, you know what I'm saying? We've been boxed in. We can't make money off weed no more. We can't make money off drugs no more. The pharmaceutical then took over that. The other institutions taking over that. It's probably gonna be just maybe a handful of our brothers that's able to make money in those different type of ways that some of the brothers were able to escape hood life into better situations. So all of our things are being closed, and now your job opportunities is being threatened because now they bring in a group of people that'll deny you the ability to work because you don't have a high school diploma. But now they're about to put people in positions, in places that not only do they not have a high school diploma, they don't even speak the language. They don't have no type of background education. Yet they're going to assume a responsibility that you once had because you're not paying attention to what's really happening. And if we were really smart and we were really wise, we would start taking some time, invest some time first into prayer, ask the Most High what our gifted area is, and then we should take some time to sharpen that craft and learn how to produce a trade in our life so that other people in this world can become dependent on us like they were dependent on our forefathers. And I'm not talking about the ancient Israelites. I'm talking about just a few generations ago. How can we skip the cotton fields and Jim Crow? How can we skip over that and go back to the desert? How can we skip over that?
You want to know what's so crazy with that, though, is that, when we came out of slavery, from picking the cotton fields, we ended up owning our own land and
that's what
owning
I'm talking
our own
about.
cattle and owning our own stuff for a minute until the segregation whole movement changed. You know what I'm saying? But for a second, we did have an understanding of having our own. We used to have our own. We used to cook for the white people.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
We
used
built.
to have our own stuff, man. We did have that right out of slavery. I don't know what happened and how it happened, but ever since we did that whole Martin Luther King, that segregation thing, and getting with the other nation, we lost control of the little we did have.
I showed them how it happened. I showed them how it happened because we were the builders. We were the architects. We were the carpenters.
Yeah,
we were the ones that built everything. And so what happened is after slavery, they didn't release us with no money or no means for survival, but we had the skills that they had become dependent on. You see? And so those skills caused us to be able to get paid, even though we still didn't get paid what we should have. We were able to take the money that we had as a community and build things together. You understand? And what happened is that these people understood that without us, that they would be lost. So they put college educational systems in play and made it where you had to have a degree in order to get these jobs. And because you didn't have a degree, you were made responsible for teaching other people how to do things. You see, and that is why the construction and all of that is in the hands of white people right now. But you'll never know no white builder. No white ancient builder. That was us. We had to teach them. And they used the educational system as a blockade to prevent the true architects and builders who were Negroes from being able to reap the benefits of the craft that they so depended on. And when the civil rights movement came in, before it even came all the way full blown. See, when that civil rights came in, it all began with Jackie Robinson. Yeah. When they adopted Jackie Robinson into the white baseball league, it destroyed the Negro baseball league. Because we wanted to now leave all of our stuff and gravitate toward them. With the civil rights movement, we took our money. We made those people operating in disobedience. Don't join yourself to the heathen. Operate in disobedience. We made those people take our money. We sat at those counters and we wouldn't move until people took our money, and they've been taking the money ever since. And we left everything that we had. We used to teach our own children in school according to the Bible that we did know. We brought our children up. We were separated from other people. So because we are different people, we don't do things the same way. We don't have the same culture. When we were separate, if my child got in trouble, he know he getting his butt kicked. Because we know that the Bible says if you beat your child with a rod, surely he will not die, but thou shalt deliver his soul from hell. So grandma and them used to say, I'm going to beat the hell out of you, operating according to biblical principles. When we were separate, we had the authority to raise and rear our children. We became policemen to ourselves when it came to wayward women, and when it came to unstable men. We became a police to ourselves without shame. But when we allowed ourselves to enter into this other world, and if we don't find it back, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, because we did lay it down and give it over to them, as you know what I'm saying, as you spoke on, because, you know, when you go back and look at the old settings of their buildings for when the white people built their companies, they built it to where they had a side door or a back alley door for the niggas or for colors. You know what I'm saying? Because we kept being persistent and wanting to be a part of their projects, their building, their companies, their, you know what I'm saying? We kept being persistent. But we was these people before their education. We was doing all these things, like you said. We was plumbing, we was construction, we was architects, we was, you know what I'm saying, gardeners, we was all that, farmers, butchers, so on and so forth, without having a degree, without having a bachelor's or associates or master's or double master's or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? But we gave that up. We gave that up, man.
And you know what? We still giving it up right to this day, because when we look at people that are frustrated behind racism, racism is the back door that they sent the gifted man that they depended on. You see, that's why he went through the back door. He went through the back door to paint a false narrative and a lie to their people, as though we are not dependent upon these people. That's what's going to be so great about the fulfillment of Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 19. When the Gentiles come and declare that they inherited lies, these are the lies that they inherited. That, see, they didn't allow their children and their people to understood. They made their children and their people understand that the greatness was because they was a great people. So in order for that lie to perpetuate itself throughout the ages, they had to consistently make the black man who was responsible for their success come through an area where he was not seen.
Right.
You see?
Right.
And right now to this day, it still happens like that. When black people get offended because of some hateful white person, they are still in a place of ignorance. And they're still in a docile state, because the hatred and the racism that comes from black people should not come as your demise or to make you feel demeaned. It should come to show you just how much the admiration these people have for you, that the admiration have turned into envy, and the envy have turned into jealousy, and the jealousy have turned into hatred, because no matter how much you teach them, they can never be you. You will always be the teacher, because the scepter, the rulership, the kingship shall never depart from between our feet. And we allow ourselves to be belittled, and having a belittled mindset causes us to cease from being able to operate in the gifting that the Most High have given us. To be esteemed is better than one that have great riches. When I feel good about myself, I know who I am. I know whose I am. I walk like God walked in this earth. I walk as a giant among all of the nations. And when they see me, they do what the scripture says. Because it's a spirit that's permeating out of you that comes toward a person. That even if they're full of hatred, I understand why you're full of hatred, but I'm full of love. I understand why you're mad. I understand why you're jealous, because your ancestors have not told you the truth. If you really understood who I was, as Yeshua said, if the kings of this earth understood who I was, they would have bowed at their feet and subjected themselves to me. You see, it's how you see yourself. And that's why I said the mirror is the greatest gift that God ever gave us, because not only will it help us to see all of our flaws, all of our weaknesses, all of our frailties, it'll make you be able to identify with your imperfections and your limitations, but it will always beam back. It'll also beam back and show you what a regal and royal people you were. How you fell in the drugs, how you fell in the alcohol, how you fell in the bad living conditions, how you fell into all these things had nothing to do with your greatness, but it had everything to do with you forgetting who you were.
Exactly.
When you go, have you been over there towards Central?
Talking about my hood?
Yeah.
Man, come on. You know I'm always over there.
Okay, look at that. Well, what do you see over there in Central? You know, Central used to be an old ran down area too.
Yeah, they building all that up.
Who's building it up?
Well, you know them folks.
You see?
Yeah.
Now, immigrant brothers that's coming in here. They're taking communities that we allowed to be ran down, that we wouldn't care for, that we wouldn't take care of grandma's and them houses. We wouldn't invest our money in the house after grandma died. We wanted the money so bad to buy Jordans and buy a new car that you sold grandma's house, or you let grandma's house get taken from taxes, and now you got people that come from out of nowhere, and now they coming in here, and now they done turned grandma's house into something beautiful. And the only thing we can see is and they gentrifying the community. You know, the white folk taking over everything. They ain't taking over nothing except what we are giving away.
And you know, it's only like a handful of mom and pops, like stores in the hood. Like I go down my hood now, I think it's like, I'd probably say about like maybe 5 good shops of black-owned businesses that's been there since I was a child coming up. There's only about 5 of them in the hood, man, that's still left around. The rest of them, though, is the mother folks coming in and building from the gas stations and everything, the liquor stores. There's more liquor stores, more gas stations, more grocery stores now. Hell, one of the grocery stores off of Central, it ain't nothing but mess. I'm talking about, it's like Mexican galore, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember there was nothing but Negroes around this when I was coming up. Now, it's the whole script, all the businesses, the grocery stores, the gas, is owned all by all Mexicans and Arabians, bro.
Now, I got something for our religious brothers and sisters. I see one of our brothers and sisters on here put a comment on there. That's Kimmy Cordelia. Kimmy Cordelia is in the UK, but it don't make no difference where we go on earth. It's the same situation. She says, Father, help us. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, something. You might not want to hear this. I don't care what you believe. You're Hebrew Israelite, you're Christian, you're Muslim. I don't care what you believe. But let me tell you something. After on page 1, where it says, after God gave man and the animals his diet, he said, this is very good. It's very good. And he said he rested from his labor. God ain't never going to do anything else. He have done everything that he was going to do, and he has spoken everything that he was going to spoken. He have went out of his way to raise up men to try and speak for him, who failed as well. He sent his son into the world to deal with us, and now he sent his spirit into the world. God is not helping us to do anything because he has provided everything that we need to move into his will. Whatever gets done, it's going to be on us. We're going to have to be the ones to do it.
It's definitely going to be on us, and this is what just to land back off what you said, I want the people to do understand is that the Most High works within us, family. We cannot sit on our ass and on our hands and think that he's about to do something that we're not willing to work. Anytime you read this book, up to today's date, you're going to see that he used that vessel to do his will. Now, he can go out and do whatever he wants, of course, but he uses men to do his will, y'all. So if he's telling y'all that we can, like our king told us that we can do greater things than he did, that doesn't mean sit back and watch the sky crack. That means go out there and put that work in. Put that work in. And then while you putting that work in, and when a good master pull up on you, he can tell you job well done. You gonna understand the work you put in by your fruits. But if you don't do nothing with the fruits he gave you, What's that story with the man that he gave out a couple of gifts? One went and buried it, and the other one went and used it. And when he took the man that buried his stuff, he took his gift and split it amongst the other ones that utilized the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just, so I just want people to know that he placed that spirit in you to go make it happen in his name, and he's backing you. You can't sit there and do nothing and expect all this change to happen when we don't do nothing about it.
Nope, it ain't. It's just not. You know what? It's insanity. That's what it is. It's insanity. It's insanity.
So
Elder Emmanuel, he says, build up your community now or evacuate. Now I want to go into that too, because one of the reasons why you have an influx of immigrants is because of the condition that their nation has fallen up under.
Right.
When you start looking at Venezuela and
Right.
how the economy crashed and the money was no longer worth anything, and so the people couldn't sustain themselves, whether it be through no power, no money, no food, and you looking at Guatemala and some of these other places who are war torn. These people are fleeing the nations that belong to them for a reason. And see, we still asleep. So when he say, build up your community or evacuate now, it means simply what it means. It means, listen, the time for you just going to work every day and then spending every dime is over. You need to build up what you're gonna build up now. Why our currency still has some form of value to be able to do something different with it, or evacuate now, because now it's being made more prevalent, which leads me to another thing. Have you guys understood that about 7 years ago, one of my brothers called Michael Terry that resides in the land of Israel sent me an article and asked me if I would go over it in the States because he couldn't deal with it in Israel, and it was how the United States was going to start requiring a passport to travel from state to state. He said, and Brother Miller, you got to understand what's eventually going to happen is that they're going to hold everybody as a hostage in this country. Listen, they're making it almost impossible for Negroes to get out if it wasn't for the H.R. 1242 bill that Donald Trump had signed into law. Whereas now you have the diaspora folks coming in because these people are refugees. And that's what Elder Emmanuel says that we are. He said, well, we are refugee status now. They can't hold black people in this country like that. But the information is so far hidden that everybody don't have access to it. And then in our westernized mindset, what will we do in Africa? What will we do in Africa? We don't know nothing about the African. Where would I go? I don't speak to them. See, it's so many questions dealing with us, but there's a flip side of that also. Because when it comes to our choices and our decisions making, we have some following us that's going to be on us until the end of time, provided we're making the right decisions. So we'll have the same level even when you get up and go. So now what you got the black man, he don't want to go nowhere near Africa in America. Even though he got the money and the means to go over there and produce great things and make a bridge for his brothers and sisters in the state to walk across. He don't want to go nowhere near it. Then you got Russia. You got Russia. They want to be in Africa. You got China. They want to be in Africa.
These ain't lazy people.
You got the United States. They want to be in Africa. You got India. They want to be. You got the French. You got every other nation desiring to be in a place that we don't have no desire at all to be in. But here's the thing, as I stated before, if those BRICS nations are able to pull off destroying the petrodollar, the United States is finished. But I don't believe that they're going to get to the place to where they can pull it off. Because before it happened, that United States, that white boy, he'll launch a nuclear weapon. before he'll destroy somebody just the same way they destroyed Gaddafi when he threatened to come up with his own currency backed by gold.
Most definitely, and they made sure that they cut that anything that restrict them from being involved. They gonna cut it off or try to kill it. Period. See, what we at right now is that we talk a lot of talk, but we ain't ready to be self-efficient though. We scared of that. We scared of not being told what. We've been told what to do for so long. We've been told on how to breathe, how to eat, how to move, how to walk, how to sleep, how to teach, how to live your life. We've been told this for so long. Is that when you do get the opportunity of freedom, our people don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that. Just like they complained back in the day, man, we could have been back by the flesh by doing this, that, and the third. Same thing is if we try to do something today as a nation and move on one accord, our people is not going to know how to be totally set free. That we talk a good game, but we really don't. We really don't know. That's why they don't know what they would do if they got in Africa, knowing how free we will be back in a land where you can create your own. We have people that know how to create electricity from the actual sun itself without using certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like just straight from natural resources. We got people that know how to article and all kind of things, but we're scared to actually put that into play. You know what I'm saying? And then you also got the ones that want to be empowered too. So the ones that do, they want to be empowered as well, and then they mislead the people because the man-made situation. Like, follow me, I know the way. Man, all we got to do is just come as a body. Everybody play the role that the Most High gave them, and watch it all work according to Him.
Now,
how He set it up.
Now, I think that's what's gonna make the Most High and His people so great. You see, one of our biggest problems is that we're still stuck on leadership that is not. Now, when we go back to the demise of Israel in the beginning, where Israel's demise first began, after they had gotten to the place where the Most High meant for them to be. Now, they wanted a king. And the Most High said, Samuel, they have not rejected you. They have rejected me. He said, because I desire to be a king over my people. See, this is what we're saying, brothers and sisters. The Most High desire to be the king over you as an individual. When He's the king over all of us as individuals, we don't stumble over each other. We are all walking, but we'll walk in cohesiveness because all of us are walking after the king. I don't need to teach you anything. You don't need to teach me anything. We are all walking after the king.
He said that you didn't have to go high to the heavens. Then He said you ain't got to go far across the seas.
Yeah, He sure did.
He said the Spirit is right here now, right here in front of you. Right
He sure did. He said it. He said it, and that's where we're trying to get our brothers and sisters. He said it, King. I'm going to pull it up for you. I'm going to pull it right up for you.
So they know I don't just be talking.
He says, that's Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. Now keep this in mind, because brothers are always talking about, you got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. But they'll tear pages out of the book. Because if you understood this law, statute, and commandment, you understand how insignificant men are as teachers and leaders. He said, for this is the commandment which I've commanded thee this day. It is not hidden from thee, neither is it afar off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us that we may do it? Neither is it beyond the sea that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us that we may do it? But the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, that thou mayest do it. So he says, see, I have set before thee this day life and good, death, and evil. In that I command thee this day to walk, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. Listen, so that's what it is.
Right.
But we keep harping on this leadership and all this. Hey, man, no man knows what God knows. Every man got to line himself up with God for himself. And when we all do that, we will be the most peculiar nation on the planet. That's why King Solomon said, go to the ant, thou sluggard, and consider her ways. She has no guide or overseer, but she provided her meat in the summer and gathered her food during the harvest. She has no guide nor overseer. She already has this innate ability to understand who she is, the things that she needs in this world that she is living in, and the things that she needs to sustain herself. So he instructs us that we should go to the ant. And we should consider her ways, because this is the people that we are supposed to be. Every ant in a colony is doing his own thing.
And working and doing his part.
And he's doing his own thing because he is chasing after the will of the queen, who sits there and produces offspring. And everything they do is to take it. And that's what he's saying. We need to go to the ant and we need to be like him. Them ants, they can be all over the place. It look like they crawling over each other and everything. But every last person knows exactly what they are doing.
What their mission is. Exactly. And it's always benefiting to the body.
Yeah. See, the danger is when we start doing things that other people want us to do, we get in trouble.
Indeed.
And if we're not paying attention to this life that we're living in, you know what you're going to leave to your children.
Indeed.
If you're not paying attention, you got to make sure. Because listen, we went to public educational system too. And there was a level of demise in there because they didn't teach us the things that we, was important. They didn't really teach us about our history and this, that, and the other. But they gave us sprinkles of what we could feel good by, making us aware of the first black person that did this, the first black person that did that. So they gave us little sprinkles. But here was the greatest thing about the public educational system. Our parents were the ones that were responsible for teaching and training us. And when we went to school, we did what our parents said, not what the kids said. And we would do what the teacher said if it was what the parents said.
Right.
And the parents would be like, don't give your teachers no problem, and you behave yourself in school. But if we came home and told the parents that the teachers were saying something and it wasn't right, then the parents would correct us. They wouldn't correct the teacher, they would correct us and send us back to school. See, it was more involvement. And you got brothers out here that's Christians. You got 3 or 4 babies' mamas. You're a Christian now. You done turned to the Bible and you're completely oblivious of the fact that you got to fix this mess that you made. You got brothers in Israelite heritage still fornicating, still got 2 or 3 babies all over the place, ain't taking care of their personal responsibility, won't pay their child support. You got brothers that's talking about the Bible and then crying about child support that comes as a result of them fornicating.
Facts.
You got brothers and sisters out there dogging each other, running each other down like dogs. Don't even understand that the reason why you enter into those conditions is because of your rebellion against the Most High by fornicating. Produce these results, produce a brood of unwedded children, and all of these produce results in our life that we have to make strategic choices to deal with and fix. It's much easier to blame each other.
And ain't that where the scripture kick in where it said the children will be the rulers or the oppressor over the women?
Yep. The women gonna rule over them, and they're gonna oppress everybody. Cause it's them women. It's them women that tell, you ain't got no business. You ain't got no business hollering at my kid. You ain't got no business touching my kid. It's a woman that'll do that. Well, when we came up, any man could chastise your son because a woman had more character. Any man would chastise your son. And wasn't no kid going nowhere in the vicinity of where no grown men was without getting chastised. Boy, you get your butt out of here.
Because why, Elder? Because why? We was all a representation of each other, or was we not?
Yeah. But then again, back then, men stayed with women. Because women wasn't in control of nothing. Man gonna go to work hard, gonna pay all the bills, make sure everybody eat, make sure everybody fed. He gonna go out and get drunk. He gonna go out and might tip a little bit, whatnot. But he came home to what was important. He didn't neglect his responsibility. He wasn't gonna leave that woman with them kids for some floozy out in the street. He wasn't gonna do that.
Because why? He was a representation of the family. You see what I'm saying? Now there ain't no representation. Don't nobody care about no representation. Don't nobody care that, you know what I'm saying, how we are viewed anymore, because we call ourselves anything and we do anything. We accept anything because they are doing anything. You see what I'm saying? So one upon a time, like you were saying, we might not have, our ancestors, like our grandma, great-grandma, they might not have all the answers, but damn it, they had a standard and they had a line they would not cross. Ain't no line, no nothing right now. It's whatever. Do as thou will. Or I'm here to have a good time, not here to be here a long time. It's whatever now. You see what I'm saying? And we think that we have to be friends now with our children instead of being parents now and parenting our children, disciplining our children, showing our children, because wrong is wrong and right is right. So like you were saying, that child, when they got down the street and he was doing wrong, and they get chastised because he was doing good, it get chastised because you were doing wrong, and you know your mama or your daddy wouldn't stand for that. And since we're a community here, I wouldn't stand for that, because your mama and your daddy ain't gonna stand and watch my child do the same thing that I ain't gonna watch you do. It's just plain as simple as that. But like right now, we don't hold what we talked about: accountability, responsibility for our actions. None of that. You know what I'm saying? None of that. And that's why we have to really start with, like you said, that mirror. That man, stop making it easy for women to be hoes. And then women stop using any and every excuse to say that you don't need no man, and then raise up that same child that's about to rob and kill your own kinfolk.
Yeah, well, we got to fix it, like I said, I'm not being judgmental of nobody. We just having a conversation that is needed. And my thing is, I'm saying to myself,
we hold each other accountable. This is not a one. When I say a body, you can't we stump your pinky toe if you want to. I bet it sends signal throughout your whole body out at hurt, and you're gonna feel it through your whole body. Hey. It's like anything on your body is made because you need it. The Father created it because we need it. As simple as your fingernails covering your skin on your fingers so that dirt, that bad bacteria won't destroy your body, your skin, your cells. Like everything means something on the body. So we are all responsible. Ain't no one or the other, this and that. We are all equally responsible. We all equally sinned against the Father, and we all equally came on them damn boats and dealing with these curses equally.
Now, here's the thing. Now, it used to be when our ancestors, I'm talking about our ancestors that came out of the cotton field, okay? Yeshua said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So our ancestors come up unable to read, and because they were poor, they were created rich in the spirit. And then when they became a part of the church was composed of families. Many brothers speak against the church in a bad way or negative way. But let me tell you something. Our ancestors coming up in church, they wasn't moving by words, and they wasn't moving by what other people were doing. They were moving by a spirit that caused them to have cohesiveness, to be able to, when it came to keeping the family together, and they had cohesiveness when it came to building. That's how you had Black Wall Street and all these other places. These were people that were operating not out of religion, but out of spirit. And now it's like, okay, we don't possess none of the things that our ancestors possessed when they were operating out of the spirit. Now we got all of these other things, and we have far less. Now you got all of these churches now. But if you go into church, what do you think the percentage of men and women gonna be?
From what my experience was, the percentage of women was always more in the church than the men.
Okay, so that means there's something wrong with that establishment. Okay, because the church was always composed of families, and the family structure was the most important thing to the pastors of old. The family structure, because it was a shameful thing for a woman to get divorced. It was a shameful thing for a man to be a homosexual, so he didn't come out the closet, and it was only a very few people that knew that. It was a shame to a man for not being responsible for his family. It was a shame. And this particular entity used to keep all of that in its proper place, even though they were without the knowledge that we carry now. This is how it was. So the church that we see now does not resemble the church of yesterday at all. You see?
You're 100% correct.
And hold on.
Go ahead.
Not only that, there was no Islamic mosque when I was coming up as a kid. You know what happened? And I got plenty of Islamic brothers, and I don't mean this in no offensive way, but just to keep it real for the mindset go. Muhammad broke out of jail and spilled into the neighborhood. There was no Islamic mosque when I was a little kid. There was no brothers walking around talking about Allah Akbar or speaking with no different type of languages. There was nobody talking about they was Hebrew Israelites. There was nobody talking about any of those things. All of those things exist now, and our condition as a people, has it bettered or has it worsened?
Well, of course, it's worse.
Okay, so here's my point. I got to keep reinforcing the fact that religious belief won't change your situation. Right. The choice that you make that is based or should be based on what you say you believe is what's going to make the difference. So if you got everybody believe in something and our condition seems to get worse, what do we learn from that?
It ain't working.
Okay, so if it's not working, then every man should denounce these religions that he become a part of and pray the prayer that the Messiah told us to pray. Thy kingdom come, that thy will be done. We should be trying to make the Most High God the king of our life and allowing his domain or dominion to be the final authority in our life as individuals. I'm not talking about as no conglomerate body of people. We passed that.
Right. Because it's an individual, because at the end of the day, like you said earlier, it's about that mirror. And when I go to have to stand in front of the Most High on a great day, I tell my ribs, I tell my chillings, I tell all my bros, I tell everybody, no matter whoever, whatever anybody do to me, at the end of the day, I'm going to be responsible for what I do on the other side. So when I'm standing in front of the Most High on that great, terrible day, I got to answer for why did I do what I have done? Not because of what somebody else. They going to have to deal with their own situations when they standing in front of them. But I got to deal with what I've done. So can't nobody stand up and say, it's my fault he did this, or he wouldn't have done it. No. It's how I retaliate. It's how I act with the knowledge that I know. So I gotta walk this thing out. I can't depend on my ancestors, because we gotta be greater than them. We read about what they have done and how they fell. And then we seeing right now in today's generation, this modern and biblical time, we seeing right now how everybody moving right now and how everything's more wicked and freely wicked today. We even got children's running around hollering about I'm on demon time. So they even claiming it, you did. So at the end of the day, I'm looking and realize that I got to do my part. No matter what anybody else doing, I got to do my part.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm reminded of this passage that was out of the what book was that? I can't think of the name of that book. It was the book of the grandmothers, though. And it was where God was judging Levi for producing that molten calf. And it was talking about how Levi was unrepentant and the Most High had rejected him. And it was also talking about how different things that he did that was against the Father. And then when he being dealt with, the people had become so dependent on them doing what they was doing, is that once the Most High started striking people down, the people was like, well, what are we going to do now? Well, what are we going to do now? And that's kind of how we live our life now. We have become totally dependent on everything outside of the Most High. And when those things are destroyed, like I take this for instance, if the Most High start destroying camps and the community organizations, the people that have been a part of them would be of this mindset, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? Because a man standing in your way stagnated your growth. It stagnated your relationship. People that have jobs now, when they lose a job, what do I do now? What am I do now? You have never came to understand or know the Most High in the capacity that he desires, where you exercise faith and trust in him when you move into areas of self-employment, and you now have to develop faith and trust that the Most High will send you work so that you can be able to produce a living for yourself. And this type of thing is a level of responsibility that everybody is not ready for, but we better get ready for it.
Well, because it's always going, at the end of the day, he said he's going to get his praise. He did. He's going to bring us all to the wilderness, he said. He said all that corn and oil and wine that we was blessed with and we were giving praise to buy out for all that crap. He said it was him doing it all that time, and he going to make us forget that name, and we going to know his name. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, he's going to put an end to where we all stop depending on anything outside of him, period. Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the most annoyingest thing ever, as being the creator of all things, is that you don't put all your trust in the creator. You put your trust in the creations. And that I'm sure that's an annoying thing, knowing that thing can't save you. Like he tell you them things that we put, like that job he put his trust in. Man, that job, that building can close down today. And what are you going to do? I remember that time, man. I don't know if you recall, but it was like somewhere early 2000s, right, where that Y2K, people losing their job, and they had people jumping off the buildings and killing themselves and stuff. That is just the most craziest thing ever to me, man. Mm-hmm. But because they knew nothing outside of that job. They not know the Father. Yeah. So when you don't know the Father, you put your trust in this, whatever this idol thing is, and when it comes to destruction, you would think you're destroyed.
You remember that guy that they was calling? They was running around calling the Comforter, the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
What's his name? Tazaka. What's his name?
Damn. I can't think of his name right now, but I know he's talking about the Comforter.
Yeah. But you know what? And he was making. He had dials and everything in stores. He was making millions. You know what I mean? But what happened? What happened to his body of people when he died?
They all over the place.
And this one of the things I be trying to say is, like, you know, what's gonna happen to your community leaders, people, once the community leader die? Once the camp leaders die, what's gonna happen to them? Yeah, they're going. Or is they gonna be assumed by other people? Will they have the same charisma? Will they be able to have the same rapport with the people that's following them? Would they, you know?
They not because you know every time a new head getting thrown, some people don't like that new head already. It's gonna be like commotion, emotions, all kinds of stuff.
See?
So it's not gonna ever be the same. So why would you trust in that man?
See, it's the same thing. What happened? What happened when church pastor died?
Exactly.
What happened to all the people?
The church go to the other church they've been wanting to go
See,
to.
well, you know what? And then when he died, what's gonna happen? See, and all these things are stagnating people's growth, and all these people are part of the great deception. So, you brothers and sisters, you on the line, and you listen to this, you better think about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's what it is, man. And the Most High's will is bigger than anything. His will is bigger than anything, you know. And his will is bigger than anything. And as I'm just sitting back looking, and I'm thinking about, you know what, we going to get the land of our, you know what, the Most High said He's going to give us the land that He swore to our forefathers, okay? Now, how much that entails, when I look at what He told Joshua, He told Joshua, every place the sole of his foot tread, then that's going to be the land that we're given. So, in my eyes, the Most High, the whole world belongs to Him. The earth is the Lord. You know, everything that's in it. So even when we're looking at going back to the motherland, you know, it ain't gonna be nowhere to run, because all of these same people are over in there even more so now than anything. They're over there with war in Israel. You got Russia, all these different people invading African lands. And now Africa lands is the fastest growing economy in the world. But do you think that it's the fastest growing economy in the world because it's strictly what the Africans are producing?
Nah.
Okay, so there is going to be a level, no matter where you go, of this same stuff. So it's like I'm trying to remove my mind from things that ain't directly. Now, when we start looking at the ideal of war coming to this country, because there's war coming, now we start looking at the ideal of self-preservation, which means that many of us may be forced into doing something that ultimately is going to be responsible for goodness in our life. Right now, we might not see leaving the Western lands as a good thing. But the Most High bring war and destruction to this country. We be forced to leave this place the same way that Venezuelans is forced to leave there coming into America. We're going to be forced to leave America and go back into the places where we came from. It should be a little bit more easier because of those diaspora laws and everything that's in there now. But it's just something to think about, man. My only thing is I just wanted to come on here and just talk about that, just realistic stuff on
just life, man, just life.
Getting prepared.
Simplicity of life.
Yep. So yeah, man. So